Hello again. Uh, in this video, I would like to show you the structure of lipids and characteristic of them and the properties of the groups. Let's first take a look at the chemical nature of lipids. What lipids are? Chemically, they are esters of alcohols and fatty acids. Alcohols may be of different types. Here you can see the one of the type, which is a glycerol. The alcohol found in one very common lipids in our organism, meaning the triglycerides. Triglycerides are characterized three fatty acids, maximum three fatty acids. Here you can see two of them linked to the hydroxyl group of this alcohol, of the glycerol. This is what happens here between this group and that group is that this hydrogen and this water, this hydroxyl group is given away, and this oxygen joins here, forming a structure, forming a bond which is called an ester bond. Okay, ester bond is made, and thanks to that, this joint molecule becomes hydrophobic, because what you can see here from this part here, there is a hydrogen, and here this fatty acid chain here is also hydrophobic. So the molecule in which the three fatty acids linked, and here another one linked to the OH group of a glycerol, they make the entire molecule of triglycerides insoluble and non-polar. That's why these compounds have very specific characteristics. So this molecule, as a result, let me draw it, will, after the reaction of a condensation, of course, this is a condensation reaction in which the three fatty acids are attached to the glycerol. So one carbon, second carbon, and third carbon. Here are the hydrogens of glycerol, 1, 2, 3. And the bond which is formed between carbon of glycerol and carboxyl group of fatty acid is called ester bonds. Okay, that's why we call the lipids as they are esters. Okay, so here, sorry, here it should be 2, of course, not 3. Okay, CH3, and the same is here. So you can see there is oxygen, carbon with oxygen here, and wait a minute, one more time. CH2, of course, and okay, let's assume that's carbon. Okay, and here you can see that that's the triglyceride. Of course, this formula of fatty acids is just general. Below here we can see the structural formula of another very well-known lipid. It is called phosphor because of this phosphate group here. Okay, this is the phosphate group, and it is a phospholipid. Okay, with a glycerol, but just two fatty acids linked together. You can see that this chain is slightly different from this one, as here you can see a double bond, which makes this fatty acid unsaturated, whereas this one is completely saturated, so there are only single bonds between carbons. Okay, so the most common feature to all lipids is that they are hydrophobic. Yeah, so unfortunately they do not like water. We studied what is their role in cells, in molecular, in cell biology, with the membranes. They form phospholipids, for instance. They form the framework for every membrane. Okay, let's take a look at the classification of lipids. One group is a simple lipids, because they're called simple because they contain only alcohol and only fatty acids. And in this family, we find glycerides, in which the glycerol is as an alcohol. I showed you that in the previous slide. Another name for them is neutral fats, with a variety, because if only one hydroxyl group is linked to fatty acids, then it's basically monoglycerides. If there are two, there are diglycerides, and triglycerides if there are three fatty acids attached. Another simple lipid is avoxis. They differ from glyceride because here alcohol is a long chain and attached to fatty acids. Avoxis, as we know, they, for instance, cover the surface of leaves, preventing the uncontrolled loss of water in plants. Of course, we also put wax on our car, not to let the water to stick to it. Okay, the other group of lipids, it's called the compound lipids, so no, with something else, as we may assume. And it's an alcohol with fatty acids and other compounds. What does it mean, other compounds? We learned in cell biology about the phospholipids. So this is one of the subgroups of compound lipids. We have here you can see the phosphate and the glycerol and the fatty acids. I hope you remember this general structure of phospholipid we plotted when drawing the plasma membrane structure. Also in plasma membrane structure, we mentioned glycolipids, okay? And I hope you remember this as well. They were the two fatty acids with some chain, and we marked it that this is a carbohydrate, yeah? Okay, involved in cell-to-cell communication in plants, in cells, basically. Okay, the other group is lipoproteins. They will be described as a little bit later. However, we may say that the lipoproteins, because in our organism, when we digest lipids, we know are placed in insoluble suspension. So basically, this what we have digested is covered by phospholipids and some proteins in it. Okay, and the structure and the content is hydrophobic, so there are lipids inside. There is also an additional group, compounds associated with lipids, and here the variety of substances is, I think, the largest, because here we have the cholesterol and its derivatives, so compounds which are made on the basis of cholesterol. I mean the steroids, such as steroid hormones like testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen. The carotenoids, the additional pigments, we call them accessory pigments in plants, responsible for aiding chlorophyll in capturing light. Vitamins, but vitamins which are lipid soluble. Okay, so the lipid soluble vitamins are vitamin A, D, E, and K. And their role will be studied in human physiology. As a homework, I have a task for you to be done. We will touch fatty acids during the next video, but I would like you to prepare, basing on this, what you can see here, the diagram showing classification of lipids. So basically, the structural organization of information. So please divide lipids into specific subgroups, then divide these subgroups into smaller groups, and practice organizing the information into hierarchical structure as a form of revision of the material that you have just had. Thank you very much, and see you later.